Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. This one is going to be on the mortgage marketing podcast and also going to be on the insurance marketing one. So we're going to be on both, which is super cool. Whether or not Anthony actually speaks about insurance, I have no idea because I don't know where the conversation is going to go at this point. But today we're joined by Anthony Mcquilliam. I've got that right, I think. Was that right, mate?
Yeah, spot on.
Spot on. Good.
You had to rehearse it for a few times before the call, though.
Absolutely. From Bolt Mortgages. I'm super excited to have you on the show, just to give some context from what I think about with you before we get you to tell your story a little bit. For the listeners listening, I think I heard about you about a year ago. We had a call about a year ago. You hadn't done any real content at that point. You were doing a bit. You were thinking about it. You disappeared off into the ether, and the next thing you know, you just come out like a rock star doing so much content at a level that really, in my opinion, is unmatched right now in the mortgage industry, bar Alex Kerr, the YouTube guy. Your content.
But I've got my digital marketing apprentice actually, and that's what we compare ourselves to. But his YouTube channel is insane. He must have put so much work into that because we just can't get it to grow to the speed it is.
He's actually a client of mine now. He's a good guy. Nice. Yeah. So, mate, Anthony, give us some kind of just a background of who you are. You should have been on the show ages ago. I don't know why we finally got this done, but you should have been on ages ago. But give us a bit of background as who you are, what you do, how you got into mortgages, just so people and then insurance and stuff.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, my name's Anthony. I run Bolt Mortgages. I've been doing it now for about 2.5 years. As a whole, being a mortgage broker, I started, it must have been 2016 it was.
Okay.
Got involved in it. So I used to work for Nationwide. And Nationwide told me, the guy there said, I'd never be able to be a mortgage broker. You've not got the skill set for it. They kicked me back from jobs 4 or 5 times. So I did see that on my own and worked for Leeds Building Society for a little bit.
Okay.
And then, yeah, ended up with Just Mortgages, employed for a bit, and then gone down the Just Mortgages self-employed route. And here we are today.
And that's 2.5 years you've been doing it for now. Oh, internet's going a little bit there. So 2.5 years you've been, we're losing the internet. He's all good though. We've got you coming in. Oh,
all good.
Are you back? Yeah, we're all
I'm
good,
back,
man.
yeah.
Don't worry. The internet's fine. So you started in November. And how's that been since you started? Like with the guy saying to you that you can't do it, and then obviously you've done the job. How have you found from starting it now to where we are? Could you just kind of take us through that kind of experience a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Someone telling me I couldn't do mortgages, that was a while ago when I worked at Nationwide. Yeah. But from when I've started being self-employed, it's a big learning curve, to say the least, I think, because changing from being able to do mortgages is easy. I've done it for a long enough time now where I can do it in my sleep. It's then trying to pivot from, which is I'm still in the transition of doing it now, from being a mortgage broker to becoming a manager, a business owner, helping support the rest of the team. So been enjoyable, but it's also been a massive learning curve throughout the process. And that's what I think I enjoy about it the most. It's not just the fact that I can do mortgages all day. There's so many other things to learn throughout the process. And I think that's what I kind of enjoy the most.
So what is the difference on that then? What is the difference between, have you found anyway, the difference between being like a day-to-day advisor to being a manager and somebody running a business? What's been the biggest things you've noticed?
The biggest things that I've noticed is I think I work at quite a high pace. Everything I do is 100 miles an hour. And I think coming to grips that people have got different ways of doing things that are also work amazingly well with customers that are not 100 miles an hour still works. And it's being able to see how people work through their strengths and weaknesses and work with that rather than just expecting everybody to run 1,000,000 miles an hour the same way that I do. But I'm enjoying it. And what was nice, as I think we spoke just before, is that it's nice now to see that I'm at a position in the business where, for example, hence why I'm at home today, I can spend a day working on the marketing, strategizing about stuff. Well, I know I've got guys in the office now that I fully trust implicitly with the customers, knowing that they're doing a good job while I'm here, which is it's a nice feeling to finally get there.
And was that hard to let go? Because you're an incredibly high achiever. I mean, I've been following your process and your progress over the last year or so, and you've been doing it like a year and a half before I even heard of you, and I've been blown away, like I said, by how hard you work. So has that been something hard to kind of step back and effectively give someone your baby? Because it really was like the passion that when I first spoke to you was kind of infectious. So how has that been?
Do you know what? I still haven't done it completely. I'm getting there. I'm learning to trust people a lot more. But I'll be honest with you, if someone can wave a magic wand and let go of that feeling about it, be amazing. But I'm still in the transition of being able to let go of everything. But I'm getting better. I think I just need a couple of extra advisors on there before I can fully let go and not do it as much.
And what about then something I want to ask you with that on top of that is that you work, whenever I see you're on social media, you're working out crazy early in the morning, and then you're going into the office and working crazy early and then leaving crazy late a lot of the time when I see that.
Yeah.
How is your work-life balance now? Like, I know that, like, well, just, has that changed over the last few years, or now that people are in there, or are you still like working? Not that I don't think there's a type of work-life balance needed, but it's just curious as to is that still 100 miles an hour, or are you chilling out more?
I just thoroughly enjoy working. Oh, just smashed my headphones on the floor.
That's cool.
I just really enjoy working. So it's not so much just people might see it as always you're working late, you're doing ridiculous hours, but I just genuinely enjoy it. Yeah. So I still work, get in the office by 8 o'clock, usually there till about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, because if I didn't, all I'd do is go home and watch nonsense on TV anyway. So I'd rather focus on building something that will eventually be able to help me out later on down the line. And it's different. Yeah, if I didn't enjoy it, then I'd do your standard hours, but I just thoroughly love and enjoy what I do.
I think that's an important point to make, though, is I think because I completely relate to you there, because I often say to people ask me about how do I do so many podcasts? Like I literally do four podcasts a day. Nice. And all my content. The truth is, I just didn't like it. So like when people say, like, my idea of fun is when I'm not working here, I'll just sit and I'll be putting shows together. And actually, I don't know about you, it's like I like that, but I also like things that are pretty self-destructive as well. So it'd be one of those things of like, I'd rather lean into the ones that are going to pay me money as opposed to the ones that won't.
Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, I think, but then I suppose on the flip side, I'm saying that like all I do is work. I have no time off. I think now I've got the extra advisors in the office now. Like I'm now able to have every other day off in the week with the kids. I'm able to take the odd weekend off here and there. And again, like I said today, I'm able to work from home rather than dealing with mortgage stuff. It's given me that little bit more flexibility to do other bits rather than just dealing with mortgages all the time. And I'm sure as the business evolves, it will be very similar as well in getting a bit more free time back.
You'll get seasons.
Or maybe not, or maybe I'll still work 15 hours a day.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. You can keep doing it. So something we're going to talk about marketing and stuff, obviously, because it's a marketing show, but I want to kind of talk a little bit about, so like me and you actually had a conversation recently or via message, or like actually I think comments about estate agents. And you said about I put a video out saying pretty much trashing estate agents, and I wasn't trashing them because I actually am very protective of agents because I was an agent, and I know that some of those comments I knew it would happen, but is that a lot of brokers will go and literally shit all over them and just be like, they're rubbish. And there are some incredible agents out there. It's just that I feel for the vast majority of people that can be a very expensive way to get leads and very hard because there's not many agents to the amount of brokers' heads. But you put a comment on there, which is good. I want to talk about it because I think you're a good example of it, which is. So you put a comment saying that you have get most of your leads from estate agents and that you have a good relationship. I know you work in an agency. Mm-hmm. I actually think put the comment back to you saying I think you're a different kind of situation. So I'd love to just kind of understand what your relationship is, how you work with your agents, what that looks like, because I think that you are probably a gold standard that many other advisors who have bad experiences with agents could probably learn from.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it depends on who you're asking who has a bad experience with agents, because there's a bit of a thing with mortgage brokers that they own the customers, and if the estate agents try and pitch their financial services team, then the estate agents are every name under the sun. But essentially, if you speak to people, there's a lot of people that I speak to that work directly with estate agents, and I know some amazing, especially locally, I know some amazing estate agents who, I trust all of them implicitly to be able to sell my property. The best way to look at it is they are ultimately your customer, the estate agents. You've still got to keep them happy. You've got to look at pre-qualifying the offers. You've got to put in the extra work to be able to have conversations with people. And unlike a lot of the online leads who have built that trust and reach out to you because they know, like, and trust you straight away, there's a bit more sales involved because they've maybe spoken to another broker, spoken to the bank, which I know no different. I've always been, since I've started my career, really been in estate agencies. So I think they're the perfect place to work for. And when you say they're expensive, yes and no, because if I was to go and spend fortunes now on generating leads online through Google ads, Facebook ads, any type of marketing, I could be spending money up front and not actually getting a penny on the back end. Whereas with the estate agents, I don't pay a penny for anything at all unless they actually pass business over. So yeah, I see it as a cheap form of leads because you only pay once you actually earn any money. And if you do it well, I suppose at the sales funnel, a lot of people that I speak to from my online stuff are people that are just starting to think about looking at properties, that are maybe thinking about 6 months, 12 months time looking, where you're capturing emails, they're looking at your videos. Whereas if you look at the sales funnel, the estate agency ones are right at the bottom. They're actually out looking at properties. They are your ideal customers trying to go after. And I enjoy working with estate agents. I get on really well with the ones we work with. And yeah, we're always looking at for new ones to kind of go ahead with as well.
I love that. No, I think it's a really good point. I like I said, I started in an estate agency and was a broker in an estate agency, and that's all I ever knew, to be fair. Until I started doing videos. So I do, and I had a good relationship with my team when I did that. I just always find that a lot of times now it's very hard. How did you get that relationship to start? Because I think the hard bit I find with agents, or what I find myself, what I've found from advisors telling me, which are, by the way, a lot of the time with these, and I'll call you all out on this, is a lot of the time you're just lazy fuckers and you don't want to do it. Because that's what happens a lot of times. Is I hear people and they're like, I'm not very busy. And I'm like, well, every other person that I speak to who's hardworking is pretty busy. So I don't know about you, but like, how did you get that relationship? What how would you get a new relationship with an estate agent? What did you do to kind of achieve that?
So the first one was actually a joke, and this is what made me go through to being self-employed. I was speaking to an estate agent, the main one where my office is based in at the moment, and I said, "Who does your mortgages there?" And they mentioned the person, and I said, "Well, I'm better than him." As a joke, I'm better than him. When he messes up, give me a call and I'll come and do them all for it. It was just a complete joke, meant nothing by it, because I had no intentions of going self-employed. A week later, the owner of the business gave me a call and he said he's not calling any of our leads. He's not giving us any money for anything. He said, "Do you want to go and have a conversation about it?" And I was so close, again, being a bit scared going self-employed, just to say, "No, I'm not actually that interested. It was only a joke." But we went to have a coffee with him and got on really well with him. And since then we went in there. But we've got another, I suppose it's just been luck, really, that there's not been any that I've gone massively proactively out to achieve. We've just been through friends, speaking to an agent or someone I've worked with in the past. We've got about 5 or 6 estate agents that pass business over to us at the moment in and around Essex and London.
It's amazing. I love it. It's a great story. I just think you are, like I said, a gold standard of how it's done. It's not many people like how it's done for a modern advisor. There's tons and tons of advisors who have these like legacy relationships that they've been in there for 30 years and whatever.
Yeah.
But you're like not new to the industry. I hate when people say that because it's super patronizing. You're not new to the industry at all. But what I mean is you're relatively new. You're 2.5 years in and you're doing a lot of things that people who have done it for 10 years can't even figure out how to do. So I think it's a really interesting point. Wanted to ask you about, before I go to the marketing, which is a bit people want to know about, but I want to talk to you about your suit, because in today's, the reason why is because in today's world, like everyone is very like anti-suits. And I think we can, like you've said, we were chatting, like, I know you worked with Gary Dass. To blame Gary Dass on this, Gary, shout out to you, is that you were the shorts and t-shirt guy. I remember that's when he started doing his marketing. That's how he was the shorts and t-shirt. And I think he's to blame for many advisors now wearing shorts and t-shirt, because everybody just copies people and they're just like, oh, I'm going to wear that now. And so now it's like the self-employed mortgage advisor just seems to wear a t-shirt and shorts or jeans. Why do you wear a suit if it's so opposite to what is the kind of the norm right now for modern advisors?
Come on, Ash, if you look this good in a suit, you'd wear one.
You look great.
No, I'm only playing. I don't know. Do you know what? Maybe it's just that I just feel like, I suppose when you put on footballer puts on a football kit, I feel like it's just maybe ingrained for me because I've been in that corporate world. And I just feel nice when I put a suit on. So I think I feel smart when I speak to customers. And in my head, not that anybody cares about it anymore, because it's a complete different world. But I feel like if I'm speaking to an older client, someone that's a bit more well off, that's coming into the office, which again, we don't tend to deal with a huge amount of customers like that. But I just feel like I give a bit of a better impression when I'm wearing a suit. Plus, I just feel like I put my clothes on to go to work and feel good for it.
I think it's a brand play. You look really, it's super, like, to me now, following you for like last year, speaking to you on and off, normally just kind of banter, but in Instagram messages normally about stuff that I have I couldn't imagine you not in a suit. In fact, I think I saw a photo of you once and you were like in a t-shirt and jeans doing something like on a stories, and it really threw me. I was like, who is that? I didn't know it was you. So I think it's a cool thing. Like I like it. I do like
that's
it.
That's what I had to say earlier. When I'm working from home, you might think, oh, he just wears suits to work from home and everything. I've only put it on because I'm going back into the office after for an appointment. I'm not just, I've got other clothes up in suits.
But I think that's cool. I like it. I just think it's something that people don't think about, which is actively making a decision about what you wear, as opposed, which is part of the branding, marketing. People remember the way you look, and a lot of the times, like I say, that idea of jeans and a shorts and a t-shirt, that was what you're doing with the suit now. I remember him doing that's exactly the same thing. It was we're looking like everyone's doing that way, but we're going to look this way. It's going to be a part, like you look good. I think sometimes now everybody looks the same. So it's an interesting concept.
Do you know what? I have had a couple of comments on, I've had one comment on some videos I've done on TikTok where, mainly because it's a first time buyer, they said that I wouldn't, again, you reach out to your own customer when you do your videos, don't you? But they said I wouldn't use you because you look too formal because you're in a suit. I wore t-shirts and a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, and because of that I felt like I trusted him a lot more. So I suppose it's each to their own. It can go either way wearing certain attire, can't it, for when you're speaking to people?
I think it's like, I think I remember saying to you when we had our call like a year ago, it was like it's like an idea of being like larger than life. Like when I think about you, and that's one of the things that, like, I know you're friends with David Sharpstone. I'm good friends with David. He's a client of mine. One of the things that whenever I bring you up or he brings you up, it's always like like you're memorable. Like you're a tall guy. You're very tall. You're always immaculately dressed. I think it's all part of the way you look and the way you present yourself. It's a whole package. And so I think like when people say, like, oh, I wouldn't go to use my jeans. Like most of the time people on TikTok's are morons anyway. So they're saying things they never even thought about it. I get it all the time and I'm like, what are you talking about?
You know what? I've grown up with friends where I've, all we've done our entire life, doesn't matter how bad of a situation you're in, we've constantly been at each other. So whenever I get, I've had we won't go through too many of them now. I've had some amazing comments on TikTok, and every time I have a bad one, I actually read them out to the office about the ones that have made me laugh the most. But we have some brilliant ones. Mate,
you get some. I think my best one I've had so far, which I did a video on, and you might. So I got a comment, and it said, and I'm a big believer, by the way, of leaning into the comments and seeing if there's anything from it, and also taking the piss out of it as well. Yeah. But like the best one I had was, when was it? November, and someone put, I was talking about something to do with business and growing your business, whatever, and he said, I think you need to shut up giving business advice. He said, shut up giving business advice until you fix your buck teeth, you absolute goofy wanker, is what he put. And what was really funny was I actually did a video afterwards, and I went, I actually did a video response to him, and I was like, so first thing, you're right. And I was like, so I've just booked my Smile Direct Club and I'm getting them sorted. I'll send you a video, and if they're all done now, and I was like, I'll send you a video, but I think you could have said it nicer.
I've had what was one I suppose one that I can say out loud on here. The one he was like, he looks the double of Daniel Craig. I was like, oh, perfect. ... Has fell into an angry hornet's nest and been stung in the face.
That's one of those.
Yeah, but I'll have to send you. If I get any other really good ones, I'll ping them over to you.
They're always good. I always love it. People just say stuff all the time. So that's great. So that's the suit. All right, let's move into the videos and the marketing, because you talked about TikTok and stuff. That's not the bit I want to talk about all the other stuff. I know everyone else wants to hear about this stuff. So I want to dive into this. So your videos, your marketing, like it's pretty great. Like your editing styles is kind of insane. So like it's super well edited. You've done some incredible videos with green screens, and it's got like sound engineering behind it, and the output in which you create this content. I'd highly recommend people who listen to this to go and check it out. It's Bolt Mortgages. Go and check out your Instagram, because I cannot do it justice as to how good, genuinely, how good your short form videos are. Talk me through that. How did you get into that? How did you start creating? Like, you just seem to leapfrog ahead of everybody else who was just doing like mobile phone talking videos. You just seem to have just stratospherically changed that. So how did you get into that?
I, I, I suppose one that I can sort of, I can say out loud on here. The one he was like, oh, perfect. ... Has fell into an angry hornet's nest and been stung in the face. That's one of those.
Yeah.
I've had one that he was like, he looks the double of Daniel Craig. I was like, oh, perfect. ... Has fell into an angry hornet's nest and been stung in the face.
That's one of those.
So I've got a digital marketing apprentice, Harry. He's amazing, so good at what he does. And yeah, I'd love to say it's me, genius behind it all, but it's not. We just kind of talk out a few ideas, what our plans are, what might be good, what might get engagement, and he's just a whiz kid at editing. If you probably look at the beginning of our videos that he done, especially on our YouTube stuff as well, you can see every video because he does a certain video where the editing's not that great, and then he would go on YouTube, learn, and the next one it'd get better and better and better. So ultimately, the quality of the editing was from Harry. But what I did find, however, is from the high quality shorts in comparison to the ones that are done on the phone, they all worked differently on different platforms. So the really high quality ones did amazing on YouTube for YouTube and YouTube Shorts. They've done really, really well at that. When it come down to TikTok and also Instagram, the ones that did better were the ones that were just speaking at the phone. So we've kind of stopped doing those as such. And we've kind of been doing more of the phone ones for it.
I've had that exactly same experience, which is really strange. In fact, I was talking to who was it this morning? Was it one of my clients this morning? Just looking at the name of there. I was looking at who it is. So there's a guy called Greg, and I was chatting to I was trying to remember who it was this morning. But so Greg, he was asking what is the difference between those platforms. And it's funny. It's really great to hear you say that in a weird way, because that's what I've found. And it's not like universally, like it's not, people don't really talk about it, but it is from the data I've seen. When I do a phone picking, this is why I've started doing picking up the phone videos on my Instagram and on TikTok, because the edited ones, the ones that you film on a good camera and do all of that, they just flop. Like they really do flop. And then if you do the talking to the phones on YouTube, they absolutely tank. And there seems to be, if you look at YouTube Shorts, Shorts seem to have kind of morphed into, YouTube Shorts, like short YouTube videos. They have really morphed into that. They're very different. Whereas the other platforms seem to have that more scruffy approach, which is quite soul destroying. I can imagine, like, say for your apprentice, because you can spend all this time on like a great video that is ridiculously good, and then someone else literally is like plays some stupid music and juggles about a bit, and then they get like ridiculously successful.
Do you know what we've done though? I'm not sure if you've used it. It might be awesome for your podcast as well. Have you tried Opus Clip, the new AI? So we've just started doing that. So we've got basically, because he's Harry finishes apprenticeship in 2 months. Also, if anybody wants any videos edited, reach out to me and I'll introduce you to Harry. He's starting up his own little thing editing videos, which will be
nice one.
But what we do, because he's the YouTube one is what he's been editing for. We've now got YouTube videos scheduled up to the 3rd of March next year. So what we're now doing is, once we're going back with those videos, we're ultimately just putting them into the Opus Clip stuff and gradually going to start. That Opus,
that's what I was doing literally before our call. So before our call, the Opus Clip thing was what I was doing, because again, it just trying it out. One thing I found with Opus Clip, the issue I have found with it, so just for people who want to know what that is, it's an AI, it's from OpenAI, isn't it? It's literally the same people who do ChatGPT.
Yes,
and so what they do is they clip. I mean, I'm not telling you, I'm telling the listeners, because otherwise I'm teaching Anthony to suck eggs here. No, but so what it is, guys, is it's like you edit your it takes your video and then it edits it in like a AI way with subtitles and everything. It's pretty cool. Don't get me wrong, you get some duds, like you do absolutely get some like random stuff, but it's pretty ridiculously good. But one thing I found is it really works well. I'm going to sneeze here, but it really works well. Here we go.
Bless you.
Hay fever because the door's open. It works really well if you reduce the amount of edits, because it really struggles with the edits. If you do a lot of editing on it, it can be a little bit temperamental. So like me and you talking here, this would work really well because we're not moving much. But when you start to like bring in B-roll and like it starts to get a bit, do quite well, but it can be a bit of a pain. But I made from one video, I made like 10 clips, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is insane. Yeah. I mean, it's really good. It's going to put a lot of people who are marketers out of a job, not as in like people who are video editors, but it's good. Like someone like your apprentice, that idea of, if you can shoot a long form video, it's designed in that way, and then you can run it through this software, that'll do really well for YouTube Shorts. I don't know if it'll do so well. Still don't know if they'll perform well on the other ones. I still think you probably have to talk into the phone, but it's pretty crazy. have you been using the chat at all, chat GPT or anything like that? Have you guys been leaning into that at all?
Yeah. So mainly for so basically I've created like a first time buyer ebook guide for people to download.
Yeah, I saw you post it today. You had the written the paper copy, didn't you?
So when they sign up to that, so we've created, I think we're on about 16, 17 emails that once they sign up to that, they get constant emails after.
Oh, nice.
Kind of created it all through that.
And what are you using for that active campaign? Is that what you're using for that?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's I think Gary helped explain help the process he follows there to get it all set up.
Active campaign is wicked. Like I use that. It's super good. Yeah, like that's really cool. And that's the type of thing that ChatGPT can do really well. I used it to write my mortgage marketing blueprint ebook. So I
nice.
I literally took my modules, put it through a transcription and said, can you turn this into a book? And it turned it into the book. So it's pretty crazy. And so on kind of just to not wrap it up, but to wrap up this in some ways is your videos. Have you seen from your like estate agency leads, you touched on it a little bit, like your estate agency leads are right at the end, they're buying, they're in. Have you started to pick up leads from social media? Is that something that's become quite profitable yet? Or is it something that you're still investing in, but not quite getting the returns you want?
Yeah, 100%. But it's a bit more of a longer drawn out process because, and again, I think we had a conversation just before this started about tracking the leads, etc. So I was putting loads of content out and not really tracking where the initial lead sources come from.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've definitely, 100%. We've been, they don't convert as well as the estate agency leads. But if you go through my CRM system now, we've got so many people that we've spoken to 6 months, 12 months ago. In fact, a couple of the advisors have got one that we first had the contact from and they reached out on social media 18 months ago and have only just bought a house. So it's more of a long drawn out process, but it's so important that you don't just have these conversations and let them go to bed. It's a case of having the conversations and putting regular follow-ups to be able to catch up, how you're getting on, any other questions you've got, because otherwise you're doing all the hard work, getting them in your system and you're not following up or having conversations after. So we definitely 100% seeing income from it. I'm just trying to get the rest of the team now to also jump on to do their social medias because, it'd be nice to have everybody generating their own stuff from it. Yeah,
because that's one thing I'd say. I haven't seen as many of your team. I have seen like Jody. Is it Jody?
That's it. Yes,
yeah. So I've seen Jody's stuff, but it's not as out there as yours. That's something I would say. I think I see it because we're friends, and then it would come across, and I also see every mortgage advisor thing out there because that's the problem with my that is the problem with my like this poor little violin here and poor me. But it's one of those like every time the interest rate changes, because all I do is all I'm going to do is connect to mortgage advisors. I have to just go completely radio silence for like 3 days when the interest rates change because all my social media is just, did you know? Like, I'm just like, fuck off. Like, I don't want to see this. So I do see all of the stuff coming up. But I have to say, one thing that's quite interesting about yours is it just does stand out. And I would highly recommend people who are listening to this, definitely, if they haven't heard of you, then I'd be quite shocked. But if they haven't, go and check out your videos because they are your older ones, the editing, and even the new ones, like the way you do it, your presentation skills, you're very charismatic and over the top in a good way. So you present really well. And I think there's a lot that people could absolutely learn from you, Anthony, because of that.
Eccentric, some people would probably call it in the office.
That's a good thing. That's nothing wrong with being eccentric. I mean, literally, you look at like, mate, I'm like covered in tattoos and like a weird hippie that doesn't do, like, I'm a strange guy as well. So don't worry about that. Like, there's nothing normal about me. Mate, so is there any parting words, anything you want to say, anything that if you're in like any advice you give to some new advisors or anything, just to kind of round the show off, anything you want to end with?
Yeah, I think I think the most important thing for me, I think we had a conversation with this just before we started, is make sure you track your leads when you're coming through. Because I think we mentioned earlier, I was towards the later end of last year, me and the team were just working insane hours, 13, 14-hour days, where our income just didn't seem to be increasing. What happened was I was generating leads on Facebook for like £10 to £15 a lead. Thought I'd made it. Thought this is it now. This is going to send the business out of the stratosphere. But when I actually got a chance to sit down and look at the leads, because I wasn't tracking what was converting and what wasn't, everything that was coming through from that, sickening when you talk about the numbers, was converting in 1 in every 51 leads we got.
Wow.
Although they were cheap leads, it was costing me fortunes in time. Since that, even though we've got less leads coming in because of the advert, We're generating more income, so we can spend more time with customers. It's a better work-life balance for the team. So I think the best thing you can do is track your leads, track which ones are converting, and then you can see actually what's worth doubling down on your marketing, on your introducers that you work with, and you can just cut the rubbish ones that are kind of wasting your time.
I love that. That's great advice. I think it really is. And most people don't do that. I think it's, if you do it long enough, you can see if it ain't working, just take it around the barn and shoot it. Do you know what I mean? I really do. Anthony, mate, thank you so much. If people want to learn more about you, where's the best place for them to go?
I think probably on, follow me on Instagram. It's just Bolt Mortgages. And yeah, everyone follow my YouTube so I can get up there and beat Alex Kerr.
Well, your YouTubes are good. I know,
but his ones are unreal. Like me and my digital marketing apprentice, we're like, just everything he does is just so good on the YouTube.
So I'll tell you with Alex, because Alex is a very good friend of mine. He's been a friend for like 5 years. I love him very much. And he's also now a client and he's a client for this one specific reason, is that we're not for YouTube. I am not teaching him how to do YouTube. I'm teaching him how to transition that over to social. So how he can, like, because his YouTube's amazing and then his Instagrams they're terrible. And so we sat down and I was like, look, you do this and it'll just blow up even more, which it did. Literally one session together and he was already like, did in one session. This is just giving people even more envy. In one session, once we put these tiny little tweaks in place, like he did what most people would take like 18 months to get. It was like all of a sudden it was like you'd just be sending me like DMs like WhatsApps of screenshots like lead from Instagram. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, well, where do you think they've come from? They've come from YouTube, and then they're at Instagram, and now you're giving them a way to book. But one thing with Alex that I'll tell everyone, and I'll say it to you as well, is the reason he's so good is because that is his passion. So he is incredibly passionate. Like we're good friends outside of work, is that he is passionate about, he's a videographer. So he's into like color gradings. Like he blows my mind. Anyone who's seen David Sharpstone's videos recently, they've just gone like through the roof. They're so much better in quality. That's because Alex went round his house and had a pizza and set up his lighting.
I messaged David the other day actually. Like, these look very, very similar. But yeah, I think but even just the way he comes across on camera, I don't really watch other broker stuff, but even when he's just really good at the way he edits it, the way he talks. He smashes it on YouTube. He's been his passion for a long time. And that took him like a year and a half to get anything from that. Like the joke of me and Alex, like me and him very first started together. And the funny thing is I said to him, I was like doing really well on LinkedIn. Now, this is the moral of the story now, because I don't even use LinkedIn. I was like saying to him, don't use LinkedIn, mate. YouTube is a waste of time. It's going to take forever. Nothing's going to happen on that. LinkedIn's where it's at. I'm getting loads of leads. They're probably like your £15 leads. You know, it's like, I'm getting all these leads, loads of things happening. And he was like, yeah, cool. And then like, it just made me laugh because like 2 years later, it was like, okay, so you're absolutely crushing it on YouTube. And I'm still trying to find another platform because LinkedIn's now died and I've got to move to somewhere else. So YouTube is where it really is at. And if you can play that long game, you'll do super, super well. And I think that's a lesson for everybody, because I think most people think YouTube's easy and it's really not. Yeah, it's really not. I think we've been doing it now for over a year, and I think we've not even broke. I think we're on like 170 subscribers, I think. And we've done like nearly 90 videos. It's just a long time. Getting more traction on it.
I think I've got a new channel at the moment. It's 500. I think I've got 170 subscribers this month.
Oh, nice.
I think it's growing. It's it's a podcast niche. So it's teaching people how to podcast. Much easier to grow than like a mortgage one, and like it's harder. But like the video's output is like daily, and it is. There's lots of ways around it, but I think yours are doing really well. I've seen them. From what I see, like it's the right building that foundation. You just need one video, and then the whole thing takes off. Because that's all Alex's was. He had 2 videos, did super well, and everything else lifts with it once one does well. So I think you're on the right track. Anyway, we could talk about this forever. We can talk about this off air. I'm going to run this now here. Guys, thanks so much for listening to the show. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye.
Perfect.